we're gonna look at this second napkin, and this one we're going to make a pocket out of. So this one I'm just cutting, if you can see right here, there's a little bit of an edge where I tore it out. I'm actually going to just cut straight down that, so that takes that rough edge off, and I am going to make a envelope out of this one. Now if you use a book page that is thinner than this, if you use this type of book page where they're super thin, you need to glue, use some glue and glue 2 of the pages together before you make a envelope, because if you don't, it's going to be so thin that when you put stuff in and out of it, you're going to eventually rip and tear it. So what I'm going to do is, let me see which side I want to use. I want to cover up this talking because I would rather it be more of the book page. So just find how big you want to do your envelope, and you can also, if you don't like the white edge, just cut that off and make a smaller envelope. And we're gonna go like this, and we're gonna leave probably, I want to say, 1/4 to 1/8 of an inch. I'm not sure, I'm not good with measurements. Do a fingernail. That's what I did. Okay, so that you can get this in and out. Actually, let's go ahead and fold this top one down. That way it's stiff. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to run a bead of glue right here. So that when this is this part where you're putting stuff inside the pocket. So now that I've done that, you could probably just fold it over just a little bit more. That way it's not such a big gap. Now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna sew this, but I'm not gonna sew it right now. I'm just gonna show you how to add the napkin to this page. And again, this one is already prepped before the video because I knew I wanted to use this napkin. And what I'm gonna do is cut just this section out. Now if your napkin has a variety on the whole thing and not just in these little sections, say it's just a napkin that has complete flowers on it, it doesn't matter, just cut a piece off of it that you need. But this one, they have individual, so that's how I'm doing it. So now what I'm going to do is I want to figure out how to get the butterfly on there. And it looks like I'm not going to be able to get it all the way across, so I'm actually going to turn it like this. This does not bother me because most of the time I put it in my book or in my journal. Hold on. Let me get this book out. The journal that I'm working on. When I use a page to put a envelope on, what I usually do is I take the envelope and I slide it on the page like that. So I think it's alright if I decorate this one like this because you see it on the page. So that was an example. So now what I'm going to do is, again, I'm going to open this up. I am going to use my glue stick. And when you use a glue stick, I like the feel of it. Not only is it easier for me to use a glue stick and not such a mess, I also like the feel of how it feels afterwards. There's no wrinkles, there's no bubbles or lifting it up from the page, and it feels like fabric. So now I'm going to take this and I'm going to try to make sure that I have the whole butterfly on it. And I'm just going to lay it down like that. Make sure no air bubbles. And I'm going to trim this up after it dries a little bit. So now we're going to wait for this one to dry. Let's see. Make sure you take your finger, or it's better if you have another napkin or a dry wet wipe and you go over it, but I don't have that right now, so I'm having to use my finger. So we're going to let this dry and bring this back. It's, for the most part, dry. So now I'm going to take my metal ruler and I am going to lay it right where the butterfly is, and I am going to tear, because I want all of the butterfly and the pears. And I am going to rip this up to make it a shorter tag. And then, and I kind of like that rough edge again. And then I'm going to do the top, and I'm going to go right above the Paris, just like this. And this is still a little bit wet, so I'm going to have to come back and I'll probably have to trim that with some scissors because it's wet and it's not tearing right. And then this side. And I got it closed, so I may just not be able, I'll have to tear just the napkin. And you can also take just a piece of sandpaper and go around, if you've already cut it correctly, and go like this, and it will take this off and make it smooth. But I don't do all that. Can't do too much work. We gotta craft. And we're going to do the same thing. It might be easier to do it this way. So we're going to take it this way. I'm going to hold it. Uh-oh, it's stuck. Okay, there it goes. And we're going to pull it. And there we go. So now I'm going to take my scissors and just trim this a little bit. And trim this a little bit. All right, now we're going to take, and I'm going to take the small corner rounder and do this, just the small ones. You can make this into a journal card, or you can make it into a tag. So here we go. That really came out really good. And if you have pink, you could use pink distress ink, but I'm going vintage with most of my stuff, so I'm just going to use vintage photo. And here we go. Not only did we use up some book pages today, but we used some other stuff like napkins that we don't normally, you know, get to use. Or who hoards napkins? Me. I have a bunch of them, and I just, you know, I just don't pull them out. So maybe today, if you're crafting, pull out a couple of napkins, see what you can make with them. Pull out a couple of book pages. Let's see what you create. And if you have an Instagram, find me on Instagram and tag me and show me what you guys made out of napkins and book pages. Again, if you like what you see, hit like and subscribe. And thanks for joining me today.